So let's start with standard hoops. Standard hoops are usually the type of hoop that came with your embroidery machine. They come in different sizes. And the thing with the standard hoop is there's an inner and an outer hoop. So you have to work a little bit with that. The important thing about size for the type or the hoop that you're going to be using, whether it's a standard or a metal or endless, you want to use the smallest hoop you own or the smallest hoop that you have available that actually fits your embroidery. So what I mean is, like on something like this, you'll notice the little petite hoop, the little small hoop, that's probably a little bit too small for what I'm using here. However, if I go ahead and show you this, you'll notice, gosh, that's a really big hoop for something this small. So it doesn't, if you're using a super large hoop for something smaller, it doesn't give the stability. So you want to make sure you're using a hoop. In this case, this would be a perfect hoop for this because you can see it just fits right in there. It's not too big, it's not too small. So choose your hoop for the size of embroidery, not necessarily the size of project, but the size of embroidery. So that's really important. Now, I do want to talk with you also another moment about how this hoop works, because you'll notice we have a lever, and I call it the switch, but it really is a little lever, and then a screw. These two pieces work together to make your hooping easy, but a lot of people don't understand how that works. So we want to show you how this is done. So first of all, I'm going to just let that lever come open, and actually I'm loosening the screw just slightly. So I just went ahead and loosened the screw just slightly. Take that inner hoop out. So I'm just going to set that aside. Now, I'm going to take my stabilizer, and I'm just using tearaway stabilizer. What I'm talking about right now really is for woven fabrics, those stable fabrics that you're working with. If you're working on a knit, we're going to talk about that later because that has some special stuff you need to do with it. So we really are talking about a woven right now. So when I put this in, I put my outer hoop down, stabilizer down, and then my fabric on top. So that's how you kind of work with a regular standard hoop and standard fabric or woven fabric. The other thing is, I'm showing this to you on camera, but basically you're going to see, I can read, or you can read, actually the size of the hoop. It's important that you measure that or make sure that that is right here at the bottom. There's a little bitty little triangle. And there's another triangle here. So those are going to line up. So that's important that you do that. I always tend to start at the top and then just push and work my way around to get that inner hoop into the outer hoop. It's really pretty simple, but here's the important part. I've been doing this for a little while, and the thing we used to do is we used to tighten our fabric super, super tight, but what would happen is you would then, when you took the embroidery out, it would like bunch up a little bit. So you don't want to do that. You just want to I'm very gently, if you can just kind of see that, how gently, I'm just pulling that to make that nice and flat so there aren't any bubbles. Now I haven't finished yet because I still have this lever is open. So you see how I've got that open. It's super important that when you start pushing that lever down, so see how I'm kind of trying to push the lever down? You can see kind of how I'm struggling a little bit. Stop. Just stop. It's not hard. What I want you to realize is that's why you have the screw, is you're going to loosen that screw a little bit until that lever becomes easy enough. Make sure it's nice and tight. And again, if you need to just take out any bubbles, just ever so slightly pull your fabric. And you can see you've got a nice base to work with. So all right guys, there's your hooping for a standard hoop, woven fabric. Remember, we're going to do knits here in just